Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Java with the Gyms. Jim, how do you like your morning espresso?
Well, I think the cat's out of the bag. I'm out of coffee, guys. So this today is a little bit more green tea. I'm trying to be healthy for the new year.
Well, I like my coffee the way I like my mainstream media, opinionated and condescending. So I don't know. Where do I get this stuff? I'm a genius. Okay, Jim, let's talk about if when you there's a difference between a will and a trust. The trust is the smart thing to do. You put your properties in a trust, a living trust. Is that what they call it? Um,
Correct.
and so I had a client that she did everything right, and then a child from a different relationship from the decedent. Mr. Say his name is Mr. Jones. He dies. Mrs. Jones then owns these different properties. She inherits them 100% from the deceased dead husband. And then this guy comes and says, "Hey, that was my dad. Mrs. Jones, you owe me half of everything." Um, we had a situation like that. I actually sold a condo for her, and then the guy appears a year or so later, and he wants the money from the condo and the next property that we're going to sell. So, Jim, how do you fix that kind of problem?
So you don't have to give anybody anything. It doesn't matter if they're a child or not. You can give your property interest to anybody you want, and sometimes that may upset someone that thinks they're getting something from your estate when you die. And to that extent, you can give away everything you own, but you can't give away anything you don't own. And so when you
Unless
do,
you're the government.
unless you're the government, right? They have their hands in everything, right? But if you have a will or if you have a trust, there's a process that has to occur after you pass. And one of the biggest selling pieces with a trust is that you avoid the probate process. But it doesn't mean nothing has to be done. Still, some tasks need to be completed. The law requires you to do a few things once a trust or once you die with a trust. And part of that is to give everybody notice. And if you don't give everybody notice, especially those that have been disinherited, they will likely hire an attorney and haul everything into court, and it turns into an ugly mess. And so it's always best if you have a trust or your loved one who has recently passed has a trust to consult with an attorney to see what needs to be done and if you do in fact need the assistance of an attorney. I know everybody likes to get through a process like this without having an attorney, and oftentimes you can do that, but there are little complications that can occur if you don't do everything explicitly correct in accordance with the law. And being a trustee puts a lot of civil liability on you if you don't do what you're supposed to do. So it's very imperative that you speak with an attorney and make sure all the notices that need to be sent out are okay and that they've been completed and everybody's received the proper notifications so that they can take whatever action they feel they need to take. But ultimately, you have satisfied your requirements under the law.
So in this particular situation where you helped our client with that problem, it was a pretty simple process, but you still had to do something in court, right?
Yeah, and I can't really talk about the exact details of the case, obviously, for attorney-client confidentiality. But you know, had the client consulted with an attorney prior to all of this, the process would have never ended up in court, or would have been, well, I should say, it would have never ended up in court for the reason that it ultimately did end up in court. It could have ended up in court for other reasons, but for the reason that it did, it didn't have to happen that way. There was a very easy process that was supposed to have happened, but and that's no fault of her own. People just don't know what needs to happen. Frankly, I didn't know until I went to law school. And uh, it's one of those things that unless you run into someone like me that's here to help and guide you, you likely will never know unless you make a mistake and you end up in court. So sadly, yes, it could have been a whole lot easier. That's why I'm saying, consult with an attorney before you do anything with a trust, so that make sure you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's.
So if you guys are watching this and you're saying, "Oh wow, I'm going through the same situation," and Jim, if they want to consult with you, what do you charge for a consultation?
No charge for the initial consultation. Like I've said in the past, I like to use those as a way to figure out what's going on, how we can help you, and more importantly, if we are a good fit to work together, and that you ultimately trust in what we're going to do for you.
That's another exciting episode of Job with the Jims, and we're going to see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.